considered to be one of the most famous verses in the Bible, at least for Christians. I would like to invite you to open your Bibles up this morning, and we're going to start our journey with a powerful message that Peter preached in the book of Acts, starting in chapter 2. It didn't make it in the sermon outline, nor in the PowerPoint, so I just invite you to open your Bibles up. Acts chapter 2, starting in verse 22. Acts chapter 2, starting in verse 22. Verse 22, he said, "Men of Israel, listen to these words. Jesus the Nazarene, a man attested to you by God with miracles and wonders and signs which God performed through him in your midst, just as you yourselves know." Verse 23, "This man, delivered over by the predetermined plan and foreknowledge of God, you nailed to a cross by the hands of godless men and put him to death. But God raised him up again, putting an end to the agony of death, since it was impossible for him to be held in its power." Verse 25, "For David says of him, I saw the Lord always in my presence, for he is at my right hand, so that I will not be shaken. Therefore my heart was glad and my tongue exalted. Moreover, my flesh also will live in hope. Because you will not abandon my soul to Hades, nor allow your Holy One to undergo decay. Last, verse 28, you have made known to me the ways of life. You will make me full of gladness with your presence." In this short sermon that Peter preached, there's three things that I want to share with you in this message. Number one, that doubters couldn't keep Jesus down. You see, human nature is the same today as it was 2,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, 6,000 years ago. There were doubters then, and there are doubters now. But the doubters couldn't keep Jesus down. Notice verse 23. He said, "You nailed him to a cross by the hands of godless men and put him to death." But verse 24, "But God raised him up again, putting an end to the agony of death." We would have no hope as Christians if Jesus did not resurrect. You could just go and worship Buddha. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful to Buddhism. But if Jesus didn't resurrect, your faith is hopeless. Because then death is truly death. You see, the doubters couldn't keep him down. He came to his own, yet his own did not want to receive him. Who were those who doubted Jesus in that time over 2,000 years ago? First, his own brothers, after his death and resurrection of Jesus, even doubted his divinity. His own brothers doubted Jesus' divinity. Second, his own disciples at times had tremendous questions. Matter of fact, the evidence is in the pudding, so to speak. Remember, one of his own disciples betrayed him, and another disciple, what? Denied him. There were doubters in Jesus' day, just like there are today. You know, it's very interesting. Why is it every year at around this time of Easter resurrection, do you find the major news magazines, papers, trying to criticize something in Christianity? I don't think it's just ironic. There are many doubters today like there were over 2,000 years ago. Even when Jesus went to his hometown to preach, they said, "Is this not the son of Joseph?" He could not do miracles in that town because of their unbelief. You've heard the saying, a prophet is not respected in his own hometown. I remember reading this last week about the passing away of Jaime Escalante. Does anybody remember who he is? The famous calculus teacher at Garfield High School. An incredible... Escalante? Yeah. What did I say? Yeah, I said Escalante. Okay. Anyways, the movie, Stand and Deliver, exactly. And I read this week and in the previous weeks in the LA Times about his illness. And one thing caught my attention, that the writer in the article said that when Jaime Escalante was teaching calculus at Garfield High School, that even his peers, his fellow teachers, did not respect him. That he stayed cloistered in his classroom because he didn't have the respect of his peers. The proof was in the pudding with his students, but his peers doubted him. You see, human nature is no different today than it was over 2,000 years ago. It's the same. And that's, I believe, the plan of the enemy, to create seeds of doubt, to create seeds that will weaken your faith, take away your hope. Instead of focusing in on the power of the resurrection through Jesus Christ, you focus in on things that will weaken and hurt your faith.